Spencer and Thor chatted on their way to the High Council. Spencer didn't know anyone who had ever been invited to the High Council. He couldn't decide if it was a good thing or a bad thing. "Why does Elder Graydon want to meet me?" Spencer asked. "Well, after I gave him my report, he said you sound like an exceptional young monster and wanted to assess you for himself." "What does exceptional mean?" Spencer wanted to know. "You understand what average means?" Spencer nodded. "Well, it is above average. Better, if you will." "Wow," Spencer responded. They passed the corridor to detention, and the same guard that Spencer had encountered when he was pink was just exiting. He eyed the Kelly guard and Spencer suspiciously. He had received more than his fair share of ribbing from the other guards after the little pink man incident, but his rendition of what he saw had sparked the growing rumors around Mong. It was almost out of control. You could call him a bit of a blabbermouth. Members of the Kelly Guard were concerned with the rumors, and the situation was being reviewed by the Elder Council and the High Council. No decisions had been made yet. An address at Barter Day was proposed. Elder Graydon thought they should have an emergency address, but too many opposed it. Thor and Spencer carried on. When they made it to the junction, there was a gathering of monsters. They were armed with all manner of weapons, and they spoke excitedly. Thor asked, "What is your business here?" "We are searching for the pink warriors who threatened Mong. The council has failed us." It was a fevered pitch. Thor turned to Spencer. "Can you run, Master Spencer?" "Yes." "Then go quickly and send back help. I will try to talk some sense into this crowd." He glanced at the crowd. "I'll never get through," he thought to himself. "Well, I've been called a monkey before," he thought, and jumped for a hanging root. He turned and swung to another, and then swung as hard as he could over the crowd. Spencer ran like he never ran before. His heart was pounding. He rushed up to the first Kelly guard he could find. "Thor calls for aid. An armed crowd at the junction." Spencer had to stop and catch his breath. "Hurry!" he exclaimed. The Kelly guard took a huge whistle from his bag and blew as hard as he could. He kept blowing on the whistle over and over again. The sound echoed up and down the corridor. The corridor suddenly turned green with the flow of capes from the Kelly guard as they emerged from everywhere. They gathered around the guard who sounded the alert, and he reported what Spencer had told him. They rushed off to the aid of one of their own. Spencer had goosebumps watching. He followed behind them. He was frightened for himself, but even more frightened for Thor. As they approached the junction, it sounded like a battle scene. The crowd roared. Where was Thor? Spencer was so frightened. The troop of Kelly guards dispatched the crowd at the junction quickly, but some had pushed Thor back down Spencer's corridor. The Kelly guard troop attacked from the rear. They literally picked up one monster at a time, and hand over hand they were plopped behind them and taken into custody. It was a marvel to see. Spencer was drawn to the scene with awe. The group of monsters in custody grew. Some looked angry, some looked frightened, but they were all quiet. Thor had been pushed back. He struggled to maintain control, but the attack was relentless. He sounded his whistle whenever he could, and the guards from detention joined him, but the mob was too many and out of control. The approach from the rear continued, and the mob thinned. Finally, those in front realized they were severely outnumbered and gave up. Thor turned to the detention guards. "Thank you for your help." They nodded and returned to their posts. The troop's first concern was Thor. He had a few bumps and bruises, and his shield had sustained considerable damage, but he was fine otherwise. Thor's first concern was Spencer. "Where is the young monster I was escorting?" he asked. Just then Spencer peeked out from a Kelly guard's cape. "I'm here. Are you okay?" Spencer asked. "Fine, fine. You did me a great service sending help. Thank you," Thor smiled. The leader of the troop said, "We must get this mob back to the Elder Council in the Great Hall. Perhaps you and your young friend should go on ahead in the event there is more trouble." "Thanks, Ivan. We will do just that." "Come, Master Spencer, let's be on our way," Thor said, and through the crowd of Kelly guard and detained monsters they walked. Spencer recognized some of the detainees. He had seen some of them at Uncle Max's house. They looked away when they saw him. Spencer then wondered if Uncle Max was here, and he started to get frightened. Sure enough, sitting amongst the crowd was Uncle Max, and beside him was his friend and ally from the Elder Council. What were they thinking, Spencer thought. This was a troubling development. They continued their journey without further incident. They journeyed past the great hall to a place where Spencer had never been. He was awestruck when they approached the doors to the High Council, and when the door opened he thought he'd faint. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen in his life. Wow was the best word he could think of, and he wished he'd gone to more talk training because that word wasn't good enough anymore. They walked past beautiful sculptures and fountains until they finally came to a huge door. "This is where my journey ends, my friend," Thor said, and patted Spencer's shoulder. An attendant dressed in a marvelous robe nodded to Thor and said to Spencer, "Come with me." Spencer looked up at Thor. "You're not coming with me?" "No, I wasn't invited," Thor smiled. Spencer felt honored and frightened at the same time. The door opened and Spencer and the attendant walked through. He glanced back at Thor and waved. Then the door closed behind them. Off to meet Elder Graydon, but that's another story.